Comedy is the hardest thing to write, I think. It's all very well writing something dramatic or something horror elemented, but when you've got, I don't think that's a word, is it? That's not a word. With horror elements is what I meant. I'm a writer as well, can you believe that? But I think writing comedy, because you don't, what you find funny is not necessarily
got a different sense of humour.
Absolutely. Are you going to go OTT with it? Are you going to offend people with what you say? Are you going to say something that people are going to think is light but it's totally not worth sitting through half an hour of it? I think that was why in inventing the characters that we brought in, every one of them had a sort of different element.
Yeah.
Derek's character was very OTT. Your
so
character
was mine.
Yours was very sort of almost sort of slapstick almost.
Yeah, like panto kind of
really kind of broad. Your characters were really sort of sharp and to the point, and I think a lot of people will appreciate that kind of bold humour. My character was, well, they were just sort of weird, but I think that's why I got them, to be fair.
Typecasting,
Typecasting.
I think the contrast to the characters was complimentary, like salt and pepper.
I think as well, having such broad characters for the sort of secondary players and having you come on and you had this conviction when you were saying what were really, really funny lines, but it's like you have this such dry wit when you deliver that people don't realise you're being funny until they kind of go,
oh my god, did she just say that?
Absolutely. And that kind of balanced well with the really broad characters where we were saying something that was deliberately meant to be funny or deliberately meant to be bold or deliberately meant to be rude. I look at you when I say that.
Thanks.
But I think your character really kind of balanced everyone else out.
And Jackie's character was also the centre point. She was like the common denominator.
Yeah,
the whole play.
Everyone else came and went,
yeah,
and she was always there.
Always there.
Which is a really big undertaking for somebody to take on, not just comedy, but the lead role in a comedy.
Yeah, just being on stage for a full 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
It didn't seem like that length of time, it just seemed to go by.
I think you enjoyed that particular character, didn't you?
I think so. I think I loved the fact that she was in the midst of everything. She was so nosy, opinionated, and I just loved being her. I loved charity shops anyway, so it just made them even more appealing.
I think as well, it's a very real environment, so the comedy that was drawn from it was very real as well, and people can obviously relate to things that are happening in their own lives.
And she was a wee bit jealous of your character in a way, wasn't she? She really wasn't very gracious about you.
Because Pauline Pippin
because you were an old tart, that's right.
Had on that furry leather jacket thing and
we also
a
had
skirt that was that short.
We also had you coming on playing a mum of 4. You had,
I forgot I did that as well.
Shanika, Manita, Madonna,
And I had to learn all those
Angelina.
different names of all. I had 17 children or something, and I had to shout them all to come in, didn't I?
That's right. And it was you could have just ranced off anything, but
I think
she
I
learned
blocked that out of my
every single
memory because it took me so long to learn how to. I just thought I played Pauline in that show. I forgot about that.
Connie was maybe a 20-year-old trapped in a 50-year-old's body. Maybe she didn't realise
And
it.
you played it so well though, it really was hilarious. Hugely. The only thing that made me sort of feel quite safe about the production was I knew that these guys would be able to pull it off if my lines weren't all that funny, because I'd worked with every single one of them and they've all got brilliant comic timing and really strong comic skills. You don't realise it, how good you are. I think a lot of the time you think, oh maybe you do, I think a lot of the time you think you're the unconscious comedian, but you actually are right on the button. You've got brilliant physical timing, and because of your sort of dry wit, it just breaks through so many people's idea of what comedy is. They're expecting a funny line, and you deliver it in such a way that people think, that really shouldn't be funny, but it is. I think my key point in explaining that was probably when you got the phone call. You get the phone call to the shop, and they're all talking about, they're basically, all the euphemisms for masturbating. It's what are you choking? You're chicken! oh, you should be calling a vet, son. And you're like, it's so not what they meant. And everybody was gutting themselves laughing and how you kept a straight face, because obviously people are imagining what the other person's saying on the other end of the phone.
Well, Connie's quite innocent, really.
Oh, well, this is it. She's not very worldly, although she likes to think. I think her world is the charity shop.
Yeah.
And as a result, the world outside it is quite alien to her. But even like when you're like, oh, son, you're breathing off a heavy, you should have an inhaler or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think Connie had a very good sex life.
Clearly not.
I don't think she was wanted as much as she thought she would be.
Well, the element with Derek and Eilidh playing the sort of lost lovers, one of our ex-players, Derek, played a guy called Jockey Higginbottom, and Pauline, which was Eilidh's character, was sort of this Liverpudlian slut who was just after him, and there was a sort of vying for his attention.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it was really funny.
Connie would have liked to have thought that she was right in there, but she'd actually have really shot herself, basically.
Will that be a bleep, do you think? I think because everyone knows what they are, they're very relatable. Everybody can come into a charity shop. You could just be looking for a bargain. You could, any walk of life, basically. And I think it afforded us the luxury of being able to bring characters.
All different characters, yeah.
That were any kind of walk of life. And everybody knows, and it was nice to have somebody who was the hub of a community. You know, all the different characters that we had, whether they were, you know, the local tramp or a mother of like 12 with a closeted son. It was so funny. You know, they all came to you with their problems, you offered them a cup of tea, and everybody likes to have that sort of homely, nice element.
Maternal kind of.
Absolutely. And I think because you get the impression that she didn't have kids herself, so she was just giving lots of advice to everyone around her, as if she was this sort of local sage that everybody came to.
Yeah.
The shop and the characters that come into the shop are Connie's family now.
I think that's a really good way of putting it, because ultimately these people that you see every day, and you knew all their histories and all their backgrounds, and they came into you and told you all their problems. It was really interesting, but very relatable at the same time. I think it was deliberate in the respect that we wanted the characters to be so OTT and so funny because of the fact that the two shows previously were such darker contrasts. And once again, because I obviously knew that you guys could totally handle comedy and different types of comedy, you know, the subtle, the more overt, the slapstick or the physical. It was lots of different types of comedy all in one. So we thought, do you know what, it might be the only show we do, just go for it, see what happens.
Did we know for a wee bit of mime in it?
I think we did as well, actually.
Louise was having her baby.
The baby,
Yes.
And we had stage
What was
fight
it?
in the law.
Oh, we had a stage fight.
Yeah.
That's right. Because
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I love that from memory as well.
Oh my god.
do you remember any of this show?
Getting like clawed in the face, like rolling around.
That was so funny. And Derek standing in the back. Should we not break up? No, we should throw some mud on them and charge admission. It's funny the things that you keep coming back. It was over 2 years ago.
And this was,
I know.
It's frightening to think we've been going that long.
Louise was good in that tea.
She was so funny. I mean, you've
And
got to
she's
admire
nearly
anybody.
moved, she was really good.
You've
in
got to
that.
admire anybody who's willing to have a baby on stage, walk on, you know, with like all of her clothes absolutely sodden, have two guys in paramedic outfits with legs in the air, and just completely go for it. It was so
There
funny.
goes your modesty.
That's it.
Join a theatre strip and lose your modesty.
That's it. It's in the contract.
But look, gave her a run for the real thing.
Well, this is it. I think it's grown to be a real strength within theatre. So I think we all trust each other and we're very confident in the material that we came across. I think as well because the next thing that we did was an out-and-out comedy. We trusted each other to be able to do all the dry wit, the comedy, the physical stuff, all the stuff that we knew would make people laugh. Plus we'd done so much drama in the first couple of shows that we thought, do you know what, we'll offset it. We'll do something really brash.
Comedy seems to really work for us.
Yes, but we're very comic people, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
we've
in
got
real life.
on so well, and I think the part of the good comedy is trust. Do you know what I mean? I trust that you will make me laugh and that you won't fluff your lines, and that you trust me that I'll be able to carry that line off that will make you say that really funny line that everybody will gut themselves at.
It's chemistry and timing as well. I think.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Chemistry. Good one.
Timing is a huge thing in comedy. You know, if you don't get it right, the joke will fall flat. And some of the jokes, when I was writing them, thought, right, I can hear you saying that in my head, and then you would say it, or you would say it, and I'd be like, well, that was so much funnier than I actually thought it was going to be. So people can surprise you, and I think comedy is one thing that really surprises people, how good they can be at it. I think on the night I decided that it would be really funny to sort of fumbling with all the stuff on the stage, and you were giving this really dramatic speech, and I felt really bad about it because there was a bit in it where I sort of find a Barbie doll.
Were you my gay son?
I was your gay son, and I came on with like the Mac and the Parker, and I was like, and I just started putting things in my jacket.
And the Barbie doll and the donkey.
I had a kleptomania. I developed kleptomania, and you're trying to give off this big speech, and because you had your back to me, the audience are only seeing me like picking up CDs and putting them in my box, in my jacket, and you're like, what's going on? I'm just saying my lines.
Tut deals.
I know.
Shoplifting in a charity shop.
Absolutely.
It's not exactly the most expensive places do.
Well,
I was there. You could have asked for money.
Well, this is it. Why are you having to go at me? It's a character.
You wrote it.
Well, this is very true. I think it was easier to cast this particular show because I knew that everybody was funny. I didn't. I think we took a gamble with the horror stuff because certain people wanted to do certain roles and certain people thought they would be better or not as good in certain roles. But everybody in the people watching the show I knew to be hilarious. And I knew that because the broader comedy were going to be the individual characters, that's why I knew that I wanted Jackie as the main character in that one, because Jackie's sense of humour is tonally a bit more dry and a bit more kind of just say it and it's funny, is it? Oh, right, okay. Whereas everybody else was kind of more almost four-dimensional, do you know what I mean? They were just sort of really, really OTT and hyper-realistic. You added this really nice moment of relatable levity to the whole thing. And I think for you it was a nice showcase because I'd worked with you before when you were playing Esther in Conversations with My Conscience, and you had lots and lots of big chunks of dialogue, and you're like, I'll never be able to remember all this, and it was like, you remembered it all the first time, but it was obviously a different type of tone, you know, because comedy it's not just about remembering the lines, it's about delivering the lines.
See, I think it's actually easier to do comedy than it is drama because it's easier to learn, it sounds really stupid, to learn to be funny. It's easier to take that script and learn when you're meant to come in with your lines and stuff, but it's harder to connect with the audience in a drama. It's harder to connect with the audience in a horror.
Because in a comedy you're getting the audience laughing, you're getting like immediate feedback.
Yeah, Whereas you're not.
You know what's working
it,
and what's not.
Yeah, you can tell if they're like, you know.
It's, you straight away know if they're getting it, if they're not. It's where a horror or a drama.
Yeah, they're sitting there quiet. You need to
Yeah.
wait to the end to see like if they actually enjoyed it or not. Yeah, I get what you mean.
I think, like you say, the reaction is instant when you have comedy and when you have good comedy. And like you say, we came off of Gutterflower and people were telling us how good it was, and we came off Rest in Peace and people telling us how scared it was. But people were laughing all the way through it. And I think as well, see if you know that you're getting the reaction, it bumps up your performance as you go.
Totally.
So we all came on and we were like, right, comedy. We're just going to go out and have a good time. Because we said to each other backstage, we're like, right, we're 2 down, 1 to go. We're just going to go out here and just go with it and just see what happens, and hopefully they'll love it as much as we do. And when they started really responding, we became more confident as we went on. It's funny how on opening night you can still find other things to bring to the table.
We came off of Gutterflower and we were exhausted, we were emotionally drained, but we went on, we soldiered through, done Rest in Peace, and then by the time we came off, we're like, right, need to go back on. Couldn't wait to get back on. We were already buzzing to get back on. Then as we got back on, because the audience were reacting so well, our performance was just getting better and better and better as the night went on. Because we do feed well off the audience as well.
And I think at the time we were doing 2 night shows. So the first night's always a kind of experiment in a way as to whether people, we always feel more confident on the second night. The more nights you do of a particular thing, the more in the skin of a character you get, the easier it is, and the more sort of vibe you create for yourself, and it's always nice to be able to capitalise on it, even performance after performance.
I think we had a lot of fun though.
Oh yeah.
We had a lot of fun.
I don't think we'd still be going. I don't think Theatre Suit would still be going if we didn't have that element of fun.
Yeah.
You know, because who wants to come to something like this and rehearse, you know, for 6 weeks or 8 weeks and hate it?
Yeah.
But the material's there, the talent's there, the audiences are getting there, and that was really, really nice for us. Absolutely.
I just thought it was hilarious. Like, I remember the first read through just sitting and we couldn't even read it because we were laughing. We were like trying to actually.
Read-throughs are always fun. Read-throughs are always good because I don't let you guys see what you're doing. You're very good about like just accepting that I'll give you something that's funny or dramatic or whatever. And when we do the read-throughs, what they like, they're we never can get through. Even the dramatic ones will sometimes make really inappropriate jokes.
No, it's you always on the first page. We look for a spelling mistake or something.
Yep. I think my best one's like page 4 before you get a typo.
Yeah.
So it's become this sort of running gag that as you go, there's going to be someone's name's going to be misspelled or missed out, or you can have a very rude typo that's going to make a statement seem just completely different from what you're actually trying to say. You're like, I'll just fix that to fix.
Or the words that people can't say, you just can't get it out.
Or accents people don't like doing.
I don't.
Oh, I hate doing accents.
I don't do accents.
I don't do accents.
Do you not do accents?
That's because we've got somebody that's amazing at accents, though. You just don't want to do it when she's around.
Aye. That's you.
Oh. Sorry, because you're trying to do her accent. That's not great.
No, I can't do accents either. Why do you think I write? But yeah, I think everybody really enjoyed the fact that it was so funny and the fact that it was
contrasting.
I think we needed it as well because the first 2 shows were very physically and emotionally draining. And I set out to write something that I knew would be funny. And yes, some of the jokes were a bit cutting and to the bone, but I think, like for example, a few of your lines, if you weren't so sweet in your delivery, we probably wouldn't have got away with some of the naughtier lines. And you being an old woman and talking about your sex life and all the rest of it, I think people think, that really shouldn't be going on. Is that how people do talk about these things? And it was nice.